Hello, everyone, and welcome again to our further series on being introduced to the award winners for IAIA 24. And today I'm really pleased that we have a representative from IAIA, Rufus Howard, who is here to accept the award and describe a little bit more about IAIA. This is a regional award. This is really an occasional award where we find exceptional performance or activities from both affiliates around the world, but more generally in terms of organizations also involved in impact assessment. So Rufus, very nice to meet you, and thank you for joining us. And really the award is quite specifically to the volunteers of IAIA, and really, maybe we can just kick off with that as to, can you describe some of the particular challenges or, what are you most proud about in recent times as to what volunteers have achieved?
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, so the volunteers, just to put it in context, I think IAIA as an institute has about 20,000 members, over 20,000 members. But within that, there's about 5,000 of those that are interested in impact assessment and sort of planning and infrastructure. And then within that, I would say there's maybe 500 of like really active working groups, developing guidance, etc. So they come from all sectors and professional sort of backgrounds. But in terms of what they've been doing recently, I think we started, our first guidance was about 1993. So we've been at it a long while. But I think that's really stepped up in recent years, particularly since about 2017. We've got more organized, got more working groups, etc. So recently we've published guidance on health in EIA, sort of scoping health, significance of health. We have guidance on climate and GHGs in EIA. We did what I thought was quite groundbreaking guidance on considering soils in EIA, which I think is poorly done generally. Recently, we updated our 1993 traffic guidance with a 2023 version, so 30 years later. So that was a good milestone. Another thing we've been doing is, since early 2018, we developed like a practitioner journal, and that's on volume 20 now. So I'm really pleased about that. It's not an academic journal. It's sort of viewpoints from practitioners in different sectors and topics, etc. So that's really, I think, a highlights really of recent times. Just one final bit I would say is that although traditionally we focus more on best practice guidance and learning and continuing professional development, we've become more active in recent years in sort of public affairs, responding to government consultations, etc. So in recent years, particularly in the UK, we've been doing a lot of responses to government reforms.
Yeah, maybe just taking that thread. I mean, clearly UK government has been pretty active in terms of trying to shift some of the focus or this outcomes framework. I mean, has that been a challenge to try and arrive at a sort of a single viewpoint from an association in terms of those consultations? How does that happen?
Well, yeah, the just for those of you who aren't aware, the proposals are to, certainly in England, revoke EIA and SEA and replace it with environmental outcome reports. That's had a mixed reception amongst the members. I think in terms of the high level, I think in terms of the principle of moving from sort of impact mitigation to environmental enhancement, we're pretty in favor of that as a concept, and we think that's a good sort of direction of travel. However, the actual proposals in many ways look like actually a reduction in environmental assessment and scope of EIA as well, sort of bringing back some of the health, climate, social stuff, which we see as that's the area we need to be improving rather than reducing. So we think it's so far been shaped up, probably retrograde steps, and therefore the membership and not just IAIA but other stakeholders in the UK have gone back to the government saying that we think that while some of the high level ambition is supported, the actual practical proposals currently aren't well supported.
And that's been sort of achieved through working groups, then just working on drafts, and finally, open consultation and submitting, I presume.
Sure, yeah, we have lots of structures. We have an elected steering group of 15 members who serve 3-year terms. They're the main governance body. Above that, there's another governance body within IAIA, which sits above all the networks. And then we have something in the UK called the EIA Quality Mark, which IAIMA runs, which has 60 organisations that have signed up to best practice and impact assessments. So that's through them we have access to hundreds of impact assessment practitioners. We also share policy responses with other like-minded institutes like the Royal Society of the Royal Town Planning Institute, etc., and others. We talk to each other, obviously, within related professions. So, it's a combination of expert workshops, steering groups, working groups, consultations with members.
And maybe just one final question. We bring it back to this sort of, I guess, the volunteer ethos of this. I mean, you yourself personally, you've got various commitments as well in terms of consultancy and other advisory work. I mean, what can you say that you've got from being a volunteer or leading these volunteers? I think that's the essence of obviously both of the organizations we're involved with.
Yeah, so I mean, personally, I joined as a graduate in 2004 when I got my first sort of job in consultancy after university, and I've worked my way through the membership grades. I'm now a fellow. And over that time, I've been a volunteer. I was elected to an advisory board at one point. I served there for about 6 years. I was the chairman of the Impact Assessment Network for 3 years, again, an elected and sort of a position. I'm currently the policy lead for impact assessment. But to put that into context, I'm part-time at the Institute, and there's only one impact assessment person at the Institute, which is me, and I'm part-time. Everything is done by volunteers, and all unpaid, and suddenly I continue to do that, and I've done a lot of that over the years. So, yeah, I do think it's incredible, the amount of work, the quality of that work. And to give you an idea, we get approached by the governments of recently Iceland, Nigeria, Jordan, saying, can we draw on your guidance? Can we develop our own version of your guidance? There was a recent Supreme Court case in the UK, and the lawyers referenced the IAIMA guidance as, the go-to guidance in this area. So although none of our guidance is, a legal requirement or national policy, the quality of it means that it is considered by the courts and the planning inspector, etc., to be, the
definitive
way to do impact assessment. So I think that's a testament to all of the effort and hours that those volunteers put in.
Brilliant. Well, look, Rufus, thank you very much for spending a bit of time explaining that, and a very richly deserved award to the volunteers of IAIMA. So I look forward to seeing you in Dublin, and thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Gary.